Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's having a really great start to the day. I am 1 minute late, and now it's 2 minutes late. If we're going to be exact, I'm going to quickly pin the video so that everything is working the way it needs to. So my apologies for that 1 minute. Not much, but you shouldn't be late. The thing is that this morning I was in a group, and we do exercise, we do yoga, we do learning about food and different other things, and we have a word of the week, and we dance to start off with to get the energy high, the vibration up, all of those different kinds of things. And it ran a little bit later this morning, but I left when I had to in order to be able to still be here, and we have just made it. So I'm sure everybody has a busy day with lots of different things planned and that need to be done. So we will get into our reading for today. Rich Dad Poor Dad in Chinese. But obviously, since we don't speak Chinese, or most of you don't speak Chinese, The Art of Thinking Clearly is what we're going to be reading. And we have an interesting chapter again today. Never ask a writer if the novel is autobiographical, the fundamental attribution error. So I'm looking forward to reading that to you and letting you know my thoughts. And we have the comments so that you can also let us know your thoughts. And I'm just going to say hello to a couple of people. Matt said hello. And a couple of other people have been messaging and saying different things on the Big O Live as well. And thank you for joining if you are on Zoom. And if you are watching the replay on YouTube, then welcome as well, and feel free to leave a comment and let me know your thoughts, because it's more fun when everybody is sharing and we have everybody's thoughts instead of just my thoughts. Okay, let's get into it. Opening the newspaper, you learn that another CEO has been forced to step down because of bad results. In the sports section, you read that your team's winning season was thanks to player X or coach Y. In history books, you learn that the success of the French army in the early 1800s is a testament to Napoleon's superb leadership and strategy. Every story has a face, it seems. Indeed, this is an ironclad rule in every newsroom. Always on the lookout for the people angle. Journalists and their readers take this principle one step further and thus fall prey to the fundamental attribution error. This describes the tendency to overestimate individuals' influence and underestimate external situational factors. Sometimes we get very lucky, and we get the compliment for getting very lucky. In 1967, researchers at Duke University set up the following experiment. Participants read an argument either lauding or vilifying Fidel Castro. They were informed that the author of the text had been allocated the viewpoint regardless of his true political views. He was just making a coherent argument. Nevertheless, most of the audience believed what he said reflected his true opinion. They falsely attributed the content of the speech to his character and ignored the external factors, in this case, the professors who had crafted the text. The fundamental attribution error is particularly useful for whittling negative events into neat little packages. For example, the blame for wars we lazily push onto individuals. The Yugoslav assassin in Sarajevo has World War I on his conscience, and Hitler single-handedly caused World War II. Many swallow these simplifications, even though wars are unforeseeable events whose innumerable dynamics we may never fully understand. Which sounds a little like financial markets and climate issues, don't you agree? So yes, we very often have a look at things and say, I love it when you watch the news and they will say, well, the market has done this and the reason for it is X, Y, and Z. And they will say that it is because of the economy figures in the United States that this company went down or up, or that the markets have been all going up or down. And it is always so funny for me to watch, because I completely disagree with it, because who really knows what the reason is? It might be that a lot of people just need to pull out some funds because they're a little bit short for something. And so it's just that the majority of investors in that particular company just all decide to sell that day. Who knows what the real reasons are? We see the same pattern when companies announce good or bad results. All eyes shift to the CEO's office, even if we know the truth. Economic success depends far more on the overall economic climate and the industry's attractiveness than on brilliant leadership. It is interesting how frequently Firms in ailing industries replace their CEOs and how seldom that happens in booming sectors. And also, interestingly, there are certain kinds of things that some CEOs will have done, and people will say, that is the reason why this company is so wonderful. And yet there are other companies doing the same thing. They see the CEO doing this, they think it's a brilliant idea, they do the same thing, but they don't get the results. So keep an eye out for that. Have a look at when something happens and somebody says that is the reason, they are the cause for that, and then you see somebody else doing the same thing, but they're not getting the same results. Happens quite often, and keep an eye out for that one. Are ailing industries less careful in their recruitment processes? Such decisions are no more rational than what happens between football coaches and their clubs. I often go to musical concerts. In my hometown of Luzern, in the center of Switzerland, I am spoiled with one-off classical recitals and also beautiful lakes and mountains. During the intermission, however, I noticed that the conversations almost always revolve around the conductors and or soloists. With the exception of world premieres, composition is rarely discussed. Why? The real miracle of music is, after all, the composition, the creation of sounds, moods, and rhythms where previously only a blank sheet lay. The difference among scores is 1,000 times more impressive than the difference among performances of the same score. But we do not feel like this. The score is, in contrast to the conductors and soloists, faceless. In my career as a fiction writer, I experienced the fundamental attribution error in this way. After a reading, which in itself is a debatable undertaking, the first question always, really always is, what part of your novel is autobiographical? I often feel like thundering. It's not about me, damn it. It's about the book, the text, the language, the credibility of the story. But unfortunately, my upbringing allows such outbursts only rarely. We shouldn't judge those guilty of the fundamental attribution error too harshly. Our preoccupation with other people stems from our evolutionary past. Belonging to a group was necessary for survival, reproduction, defense, and hunting large animals. All these were impossible tasks for individuals to achieve alone. Banishment meant certain death, and those who actively opted for the solitary life, of whom there were surely a few, fared no better and also disappeared from the gene pool. In short, our lives depended on, and that's also interesting. So we don't know what happened to the people that went off on their solitary selves 10,000, 8,000, 7,000 years ago. We do not know. So we can't really say that they exited from the gene pool, because perhaps they didn't. Perhaps they ended up making our human race even stronger. What are we attributing? Very interesting. Okay, in short, our lives depend on and revolve around others, which explains why we're so obsessed with our fellow humans today. The result of this infatuation is that we spend about 90% of our time thinking about other people and dedicate just 10% to accessing other factors and contexts. In conclusion, as much as we are fascinated by the spectacle of life, the people on the stage are not perfect, self-governed individuals. Instead, they tumble from situation to situation. If you want to understand the current play, really understand it, then forget about the performance, pay close attention to the dance of influences to which the actors are subjected, and sometimes even that doesn't make sense because we don't know if it's that particular aspect, that particular influence, that particular influence that is creating that circumstance. So it may not be the CEO that created the uptick in the stock price. It may not even be the economic indicators in the US that created that uptick, or that the market responded to that. It could be something completely different. So be careful when you watch the news and they're talking about the stock market, and they will always have a reason for why it's gone up, or why it's gone down, or why company X is doing well or company Y isn't doing well. They may be right some of the time, but they are definitely not going to be right all of the time. And somebody on Big O Live has just asked whether I am a teacher. I am a teacher of sorts, so I don't officially teach. I used to teach at a college, actually. I used to teach business at a college, but mainly I am a business owner. I run masterminds for business owners and also for language groups, which is very interesting. I speak a number of different languages, and so that is my background. And Mladen is telling me that the video is a little bit choppy and the sound is not so good. So fingers crossed, hopefully the recording is a little bit better. I should be on a good network. And yes, We are running off my data. My battery is good, so fingers crossed on that one. But it was great seeing you. Hopefully you've all been able to hear me well. I'm just going to respond quickly to the last couple of people who have been sending smiley faces and other things throughout the recording. So that is very awesome. So I am looking forward to see you all again tomorrow for another reading. Let's have a look what we have in store for us tomorrow. Chapter 37. Wow, we are really burning through this book, aren't we? Why you shouldn't believe in the stork. False causality. Now, I am wondering whether this has anything to do with delivering babies using the stork, because it's S-T-O-R-K, the word that we are talking about in this case. So I'm looking forward to reading that chapter to you tomorrow. I'm looking forward to sharing my commentary and my thoughts on it, and also hearing yours either in Bigo Live on Zoom, where you can also watch live, and hopefully tomorrow's audio and the video will be a little bit better than it was today. But we're also going to put it up on my YouTube channel. So if you are interested, go across to the Passive Cashflow Club on YouTube, and you can rewatch the video, and you can add your commentary as well as a comment on the YouTube channel. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Have an absolutely amazing day. Remember to put in the effort to avoid all of the thinking issues that you're learning about here in the art of thinking clearly. And yeah, that should also help to make your day a lot better. So I'll see you tomorrow. This has been a Reading with Menno.